I wanted to come on here today and discuss why I did the vaccine. Because people who know me know that I am a completely alternative medicine kind of guy. I haven't had any medication or anything in my body probably for 30 years, since 1990, I believe. Other than I took Benadryl in 1994 because in 1994 I got a severe bout of vertigo. I went out, I'll never forget, I was living on 95th Street in Manhattan at the time. I went out for my daily run on the reservoir, in the reservoir. My beautiful, one of my happy places in the world, did a little run, and I'll never forget. You know how sometimes when it's really hot, you'll see like a cluster of flies or gnats or something like that? Like I ran right through it before I could see it. I ran into it and I swallowed a bunch of them. So I didn't really think much about it. I spit it out, coughed a little bit, but I was fine. Came back, and later that afternoon, I don't know, I just felt really tired in my apartment. And I mean like crazy tired, like I felt weird. Like I felt like, what I'm feeling here is not normal. But I was still okay, But then later that night I was watching TV and suddenly the room started violently spinning. And I'm talking like Coney Island spinning, like crazy. I got down on the floor, I thought I was dying, And then I got like, the whole left side of my body felt like incredible kind of weird discomfort. I'm not going to call it pain, but it was just like this drawing kind of weird feeling. And I got really sick, and I was like disabled. I had this incredible fatigue and bad vertigo. So I went to a doctor, ear, nose, and throat specialist at the time, who I used to go to quite a bit actually because I was a singer, earning my living as a vocalist at that time. And so he was my kind of guy keeping my voice in check. And he said to me, I don't know, Rock, these things are difficult. Let's see what happens over the next few months. And I was like, the next few months? Like I've never been sick for more than 2 days in my whole life. So anyway, I dealt with that vertigo pretty much for 3 years. I had it really bad for about a year, like really bad. Like if I heard bass frequencies, I would fall down. Like I couldn't walk without touching the wall. I had no balance. I had completely lost my equilibrium. Scariest thing in my life because the doctors, and I went to, I was still in the conventional medicine world. So ear, nose, and throat, neurology, everything. I went to every kind of doctor possible. And the overriding thing, well, the thing that I remember the most actually was I went to a different ear, nose, and throat specialist who was like a specialist with this, which at the time they called labyrinthitis, which is something that is pretty indefinable. Like they don't really know what that means. It's just an inflamed labyrinth. And anyway, I remember him, I'll never forget, I went to his office for the first time. He was kind of standoffish, which it's fine. I don't need the doctor to be my friend. But I went for the follow-up, and I'll never forget, they had me show up at 8 o'clock in the morning for an appointment. So I was having problems moving around at that time. So I was like, can I get a later appointment? They were like, nope, that's the only time he could see you. I was like, okay. So I made my way up to 168th Street and Broadway, which was Columbia Presbyterian at the time, from 95th Street on the train. I get up there, probably 7:45, and now it's 8:15. Now it's 8:30. Now it's 9 o'clock. I'm still sitting in the waiting room. Now it's 9:45. And I go up to this receptionist. I'm like, what's going on with the doctor? And then I can see in the back, I could see into his office. I see him with a racket, like a racquetball racket, and a bag on his desk. And he was changing. And I was like, oh my God, this guy was playing racquetball this morning. And he showed up 2 hours late to my appointment. So anyway, I went into his office and he said to me, hi, sorry I'm late. I said, no, sorry you're late. I said, what were you doing? He goes, excuse me? I said, what were you doing? Why were you late? He goes, it's none of your business. I said, no, it is my business. Because it's my appointment, it's my body, and I've been here for 2 hours. I said, you were playing racquetball. He goes, it's ridiculous. I said, yo, I saw your racket. I saw you changing. He goes, it's none of your concern. I said, you know how incredibly disrespectful that is? Like, we had this thing, you know, a little altercation, I guess, verbal. And then he says to me, do you want to hear about your condition? I said, yeah. He goes, look, this is just the way it is. Like, you're going to have to deal with this for the rest of your life. You know, it's not going to get better. Deal with it. And I was like, excuse me? He was like, yeah, that's it. So I just got up and left, keeping myself from punching him in the face, but I just left. So anyway, crazy anxiety, like, so finally my main doctor at that time said to me, listen, I made you an appointment with this woman who is like one of the foremost neuromuscular specialists in the world. He said, I want you to talk to her. So I said, okay. It's like a last resort kind of thing. So I go to see this woman, very, very nice person. We met, pleasantries, much better, you know, bedside manner. Made me feel a lot more comfortable. So at the time, all these other doctors were coming up with all these names of horrible diseases that I might have, which I'm not even going to give it energy, but you've heard of all of them. Any kind of horrible neuromuscular disease that you could think of, they said I could possibly have it. And of course, the minute you give me the name, I'm going to do research, and I had the symptoms to everything. Like, I just knew that my life was ending. So anyway, this woman, she asked me to do a couple of things. I'll never forget, she asked me to walk on my heels, walk on my toes, just walk normally, a couple of balancing exercises. And she said to me, listen, you definitely don't have, and she named a couple of the bad diseases. She said, but to be honest with you, I have no idea what's going on with you. It's obviously something neuromuscular, whatever. She said, but you know, you seem like a very proactive person. If I were you, I would just get out of here and go home and get better. I was like, what? She goes, yeah, just because you know what? We will test you for the rest of your life. Like, we will get a lot from using you to learn about this. But even if you did have any of these horrible diseases, we can't do anything about any of them. So if I were you, I would get out of here and go get better. And that woman saved my life. Because I walked out of that office and I called a friend of mine, this woman named Ivy Ray, who was a friend of mine from the music business, who had been trying to get me to go see an acupuncturist for months and months. And at the time, I wasn't ready to do something like that, you know? But I called her up and I said, look, give me the number of your acupuncturist. And I called and I went to see Dr. Lily Wu, who was like central casting for a Chinese doctor, like this tiny little Chinese woman with a white coat and bangs and black hair, and the nicest human and a very serious person. And she felt my pulse, and in a very quiet voice, she went, you're going to be fine. And it changed everything. Like, I just needed somebody to say, you're going to be fine. And so from that point on, she treated me, helped me immediately. I was able to walk at night without having to touch a wall for the first time in a year and a half at that point. So I started treatment with her. Then I found a kinesiologist, a homeopath, holistic doctors, all kinds of stuff, massage therapy. I also got involved in a very, very cutting-edge vestibular therapy program at NYU Medical Center, which was considered alternative at that time, run by a woman named Tara Denham, who contributed to saving my life too. Like, that was amazing. That was like, you know, they were doing things to induce vertigo, to reteach your brain how to balance yourself again, to get your equilibrium back, because I guess I had damaged my vestibular nerve. And so my vestibular system, which is the system that balances us, was gone. You know, I didn't feel like the lower part of my body was attached to the upper part of my body. I felt like my head was swimming with, like, I felt like I had a water balloon in my head, and it was horrible. It was the worst time of my life. But maybe the worst thing that came out of that is I was traumatized about doctors, you know? Like I was treated so badly and treated like a complete idiot and was condescended to so deeply that I was done. You know, I was alternative medicine for life after that. And I've been living like that for 30 years, basically now. And I've been incredibly healthy. I've fully recovered finally. I've been through a few things since then, but basically I've been completely alternative medicine, which brings me to this vaccine. So I haven't, like I had a bad case of shingles a few years ago because I actually slipped and fell down the steps in my building. I live in a walk-up. I fell down 2 flights of stairs because they were cleaning the steps and there was no sign about wet stairs, and I slipped and I flew up in the air and I fell. I bounced off the marble floor. I actually bounced down the steps. I wound up fracturing my hip, tore a bunch of muscles, the rotators in my hip flexors were torn. And then I guess from the stress, the physical stress, I got a really bad case of shingles, which was worse than what happened to my hip. And so I was in more pain than I could ever describe to anybody. I mean, it was crazy pain. But I wouldn't take the pain medication because I didn't want to put that in my body. You know, I became Mr. Wheatgrass juice, celery juice. My nutrition is on point. Like I only take, you know, I live on fresh turmeric root, ginger root. You know, I eat really well. I've studied so much of this, you know, I'm like a science project. And so I could deal with the pain. You know, I was taking ice baths. I was healing myself, you know. I rehabbed myself. So now the vaccine comes. You have a basic idea. I could go on and on about my trauma with Western medicine. And the thing is, I believe in science, and I have nothing against doctors. I just have this trauma, so it's hard for me to trust, especially the way healthcare is now, where doctors really don't have a chance to get to know you. You know, they just kind of deal with you real quick, and everybody's the same, and it's statistics, and it's health insurance, and there's a certain amount of time. I'm not with that. You know, I go see my kinesiologist, I could be in there for an hour. He knows my body. And I have to take responsibility for my own wellness. I have to eat well, I have to exercise. You know, I work out. You know, luckily I've been an athlete my whole life. I still train the way I trained when I was a kid. When I was playing football in college, I still train. I train smarter and I train better. And so the thing is, why did I take this vaccine? Now, first of all, I believe I was exposed to COVID last March because I lost my sense of smell and my sense of taste for 3 months. And that has never happened to me before in my whole life. And so I didn't get sick, but I was probably exposed to it, right? So that was a year ago, though, over a year ago now. So anyway, the reason I took the vaccine is this. There could be some nefarious, crazy conspiracies around this, you know, maybe. I'm not a conspiracy theorist myself, but I don't not believe stuff like that either necessarily. I just don't dwell on it. You know, I can't live like that. And I certainly don't give it energy and pass it around, you know. But I am deathly afraid of medicine. And I was mainly afraid of this because of how fast they developed it and put it out. Like I felt like, yo, can you test it for the 2 years, please? But I also understand that there are advancements, and you know, I also have always believed that the American Medical Association and the CDC have, you know, slowed things down. You know, like for example, there's a lot of things in alternative medicine that are 2, 3, 5, 10 years ahead of Western medicine. Where all of a sudden, you know, like you're going to hear in 5 years from now, oh, turmeric deals with inflammation. I mean, if you study food, nutrition, herbs, you know, homeopathy, things that are natural, that support what our body can always do, you realize that our bodies are amazing. Our bodies are just incredibly powerful, as long as you have your mind, body, and spirit together. So the reason I took this vaccine is because of this. Am I deathly afraid of it? I am. I'll admit it. I have a lot of anxiety issues. I have a lot of trauma, like I just said. But I think it's the right thing to do as a community. Because, first of all, If I want to be able to perform in colleges, for example, are they going to feel comfortable with me coming in and I haven't been vaccinated? I don't think so. Theaters, I have friends who have medical conditions. I don't want to be the guy who everybody feels uncomfortable with, you know? If there is some nefarious, horrible stuff with these, you know, some kind of conspiracy theory shit with this, like, okay, if we're all gonna, like, you know, find out something horrible next year or 5 years or 10, I don't want to be the only person left going, see, I told you. I don't want, you know, I want to be a part of the world. As much as I am a complete loner, I live alone. I don't have many friends, close friends, but I do have friends who are like family to me. I feel like it's the right thing to do to make other people feel comfortable and to just be a part of, I think COVID is with us now forever. You know, like, I am afraid of COVID. You know, I've had some friends who had it. I know people who've died. I know people who are deathly ill, but who recovered. You know, you'd have to be stupid to not believe that COVID is deadly. I don't want to get it. So I walk around with a mask. I wear gloves when I shop. I wear a mask when I run. So I went in there today and I got my first shot. I'm not afraid of the side effects. By the way, I've had it 3 hours ago. My arm is not sore. I have no side effects so far. So I don't know. Maybe within the next 24 hours something will happen to me, but so far I feel great. And I feel happy, and I feel like I did the right thing because I feel like I'm a part of the community, a part of the world. You know, we're all having to deal with this together. And in fact, the only way that we're going to get through this is if we are sensitive to one another. If we, you know, it's like, I'm not going to take a shingles vaccine. I'm not going to take a flu shot. I've never done anything like that, you know. I don't take antibiotics, none of that. But the thing is, that's all about me. But this COVID vaccine, I feel like it ain't all about me. It's about making you feel comfortable. If I come to your home, if I can perform in your school, your parents are going to feel comfortable that if they come up and hug me after a show that I've been vaccinated. It's about that too, you know. And yeah, it makes me feel a little bit more protected myself. I'll admit that. Like I said, I believe in science. I believe in doctors in the best case scenarios. I believe that, you know, like, we'd all be dead if it wasn't for science. You know, we'd all have smallpox or polio or whatever. I mean, let's face it, science is amazing. But there's nothing more amazing than our bodies, and that's the other thing. I feel like whatever they put into my arm this morning and whatever they're going to add to it in 3 weeks, my body can deal with it. I just filled myself with celery juice. I'm going to get some wheatgrass juice. I'm going to get my spiritual stuff together today. I'm going to work on my film. I'm going to stay busy. I'm going to stay close to home in case I do get some kind of side effects, because, you know, I'm just going to be safe. And I'm going to accept and bank on the fact that my body is strong and my spirit is strong and my intentions are correct. And that whatever happens, I can deal with it, you know, and I'm going to be okay. And hopefully we're going to be okay. And so I'm not mad at anybody who doesn't take this vaccine. As a matter of fact, I understand. That resonates with me, and I'm fine with that. But I just did what was right for me. You know, I just spoke to a friend of mine on the phone recently who was floored, just shocked that I took the vaccine. She's like, Rock, Will took the vaccine? She goes, that's bigger news than anything. That's how people look at me. But I took the vaccine because I think it's the right thing to do, and it ain't all about me. That's my personal perspective. I feel like I did the right thing. And I'm hoping for the best. And like I always say, I'm being optimistic because I think that's the best thing we can be. The best way to go. So I'm going to end this right there today. Thank you for listening. I am going to post this today on YouTube and share it in social media. This is actually the 12th entry of a daily diary that I've been doing. I haven't posted anything else, and I'm not even sure I'm going to post it. I'm doing it more for me because I'm trying to get myself back together, you know, in certain ways with my work and my health and things like that. But this I feel like I want to post. And so I'm going to post it. I'm not going to, you know, promote it like crazy or whatever. I'm just going to put it up because I do know that there are people who come to my pages and see what's going on. So yeah, I'm going to work on my film today. I'm going to stay close to home, and I hope that this, I don't know, I know that before I took this vaccination, I went and I seeked out 1,000,000 stories first, from people who I know and trust and love to complete strangers. I just did as much research as I could, and I came to the best conclusion for me. And for me, the best conclusion is always what's best globally. You know what I mean? I try to live like it's not all about me. You know, I feel like I lived like that for a long time, and I just don't want to be that person ever again. You know, I want to be a part of the community, a part of the world. My work is always that. You know, my work is all about contributing to a better world. And so, again, I did what I thought was right. So thanks for listening. I hope you're well. I hope everybody who you love is well. And I hope you're feeling optimistic. And I'm going to continue this tomorrow.